If you're looking for a way to manage your anxiety without medication, this video is for you. We're going to hear from Dr. Adrian Larson with Meridia Technology, who's going to tell us about CES, cranial electrotherapy stimulation, an FDA-cleared treatment for anxiety. He'll teach you how you can use a CES device to treat your anxiety and start feeling way less stress from the comfort of your own home. If you want to learn first about what a CES device is and what it actually does to your brain, you can check out this video here. Okay, let's dive in.
Anxiety is a sympathetic nervous system response to chronic stress or to stored trauma. Now, the sympathetic nervous system, as you probably know, is the nervous system that controls the fight or flight mode. It gives us energy and focus to either fight for our lives or escape from trouble, part of what we inherit by being mammals on planet Earth. And it involves high levels of cortisol. That's a stress hormone that's generated during our fight or flight response when we're in sympathetic drive, which is necessary to have that heightened awareness and heightened energy and so on, but too much of it tends to drive us into sympathetic overdrive and contribute to anxiety as well as other issues. Anxiety also involves insufficient levels of the calming neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA. These are the ones that calm everything down so that you can relax, so that you can think, so that you can renew and restore and regenerate and rest. And when you don't have enough of those calming neurotransmitters combined with high levels of the fight or flight, you end up with difficulty relaxing or sleeping. You end up with both mental and physical symptoms associated with anxiety. And anxiety can often lead to certain vitamin and mineral deficiencies, as well as being caused by certain deficiencies. So there are a number of contributors to anxiety, but ultimately, the root cause is that brain chemistry has been disrupted, and so the brain is not in balance or harmony, something called homeostasis, so that the brain can't calm down and live in a balanced state. Anxiety, unfortunately, is very prevalent. It's the most common of all mental illnesses in the United States, affecting about 40 million adults in the U.S., age 18 and older, or about 19% of the adult population every year. And the numbers are even higher for children between 13 and 18 years old, where you have about 25% affected at any given time. And anxiety disorders are highly treatable, but only about 37% of those suffering actually receive treatment. And I want to point out that these are pre-COVID numbers. We'll look at some post-COVID numbers soon, but this was already extraordinarily prevalent in our society prior to COVID coming along and exacerbating things. So why the prevalence of anxiety? Well, we have busy lifestyles, poor nutrition, chronic stress, a lack of connection to one another, toxic overload, and I would add one that's not on here, but it is increasingly being studied, is screen time. All of us carry around phones. We have constant access to information, and not just access, but it's being thrust on us and in our face all the time, more so than any other generation in history. And this constant stream of information tends to contribute to anxiety. Too much news, and news is almost always negative because that's what creates hype and gets attention. You don't have a lot of positive news stories, and so we have this constant diet of bad news, and social media tends to also contribute to anxiety. Studies have shown this, that constant social media use tends to give people a warped sense of reality, an amplified sense of inadequacy, and a greater sense of anxiety across the board. So one that should be on this list is the amount of time that we're spending interfacing with the world through excessive information consumption through our devices. Screen time. Now, the anxiety disorders include several that you probably will recognize: generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, specific phobias such as a fear of flying or a fear of heights or a fear of crowded places, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and all of these have been shown to respond positively to CES. And we'll look at some of those studies in a few minutes. But for now, just keep in mind that the anxiety disorders is a family of related disorders, all related to anxiety, and all of them have certain commonalities, but certain specific traits. Let's talk about the actual protocols to use for treating your symptoms. Beginning with anxiety, you'll want to use twice daily for 30 to 45 minutes. If you want to start slow, you can start with once daily just to see how you respond. And you can use it while you're relaxing, working, watching television, whatever you like. Don't use it while driving, of course. And you can either use the ear pads or the ear clips. The clips go on the earlobes like we saw in the video. The pads go down on the neck below the mastoid bone. And you turn it on and set the stimulation to a comfortable level for you. It does not have to be strong. You don't even have to feel it. If you do feel a light tingle and you find that to be pleasant, that's totally fine. If you don't like the tingle, you can turn it down to just below where you start to feel the tingle. And most users begin to see improvement for anxiety symptoms within 1 to 2 weeks. Keep in mind, results are cumulative, so keep it up. Don't give up. And even if you need to go longer than 2 weeks to begin to see results, that's totally fine and expected. So stick with it. It might take a month, it might take 2 months, but ultimately it will likely produce good results for you. But the big question, does it work? Let's talk a little bit about its effectiveness. For anxiety disorders, we have the specific disorders listed across the bottom of the screen, and the percent of patients reporting significant improvement. And significant improvement means more than 25% improvement. So in the case of panic disorder, for example, we have 42% of the patients reporting significant improvement using CES. With OCD, 100% of the patients reported significant improvement. Bipolar disorder, it was 88%. PTSD, 71%. ADHD, it was 81%, reporting significant improvement. And for phobias in general, 60% of patients report significant improvement by using CES. Next, we'll look at a meta-analysis. And a meta-analysis simply means it is a study of other studies. Anxiety, ranging from about 35% to about 85%, with a mean of just under 60% effective. That's in 38 studies of anxiety using CES. Using CES for addiction, 15 studies showed a low end of about 35%, high end of almost 80%, and a mean of 60% effective. And finally, for cognitive effects on memory, on cognition, on the ability to think quickly and complete tasks that require mental exertion. 13 studies, you show a low end effect of about 22% effective, high end of about 85%, and a mean of just under 45% effective in cognitive studies. So these are large numbers of studies looked at in the aggregate, all of them showing positive effects and all of them showing somewhat overwhelming positive effects at the high end.
Well, I hope this video answered your questions about using a CES device to treat your anxiety. We'd love for you to watch our full-length 1-hour class about cranial electrotherapy stimulation, everything that it can do for you, and why you should try it. Here's the class. If you have more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And please like this video if it was helpful, subscribe to our channel. We're a small business and it really helps us out. Plus, you'll get lots of helpful tips about living a healthy and holistic life at home.